and it has helped my career. Right now, I've gotten a job from NI facility facility that I'm currently managing as a facility manager, and I so enjoyed the training, the team. I got to know about Max-Migold in year 2020 when they put up some flyers on an e-flyer. I saw an e-flyer that talked about facility management training, and it's something I've always shown interest. I've been looking out for what I can do differently as an architect to build myself and add value to myself. Then I got to know about Max-Migold. I followed through, and I had a 2 days free training session with Max-Migold, and from there I got so much interest in building my career as a facility manager. And they have helped me. I've gone through the full training, and I'm a graduate of Max-Migold. I appreciate that, and they have been wonderful. They have added so much value to my career, and it has been an excellent walkthrough with Max-Migold. Thank you.
My name is Peter Lawal, a facility manager with Triumph Properties and Facility Management. A graduate of FMMC Batch 12, of which prior to that I was a graduate of Physics with Electronics. It's funny when you hear physics and facility management. That shows what facility management can do to you. Coming into this, when I took the course, the 3 months master craft class, which was quite intense and very eye-opening. I came into the course with the intention of learning more pending when I will be getting fully employed, because prior to the program I was still in the job market trying to get somewhere to work. So fast forward to the class, I went through a lot, and this kind of broadened my perspective to the everyday activities and everyday objects I see around me. There are opportunities, there are all these things matter, right from the fabric of the material used in painting, decorating, even right up the dust on the table, cleaning.
Hello, my name is Amaka Anasi, and before the facility management diploma, mastercraft diploma, I was working in the Labone School as a facility manager. I had got a diploma, and I attended the free training first because I wasn't sure if I wanted to do the diploma. So the free training convinced me that this was it. So I registered for the diploma. It has been so I had been working in facility management for about 5 years, and generally groping in the dark, making mistakes, learning from costly mistakes. Now with diploma, my facility management strategy has changed. It's no longer firefighting, but even though that still happens occasionally because life happens. But now I know, okay, so I have different maintenance strategies for different assets I can put in place and reach the pains before faults happen, which is the best way of practicing facility management. Then also, I know that some of my colleagues, some of my classmates in diploma have gotten promotions or pay rises, and you want to have that too. And also, through the training, I've been exposed. In fact, I'm still being exposed. I contribute and I learn by being part of the alumni group. It's wonderful. There's a lot. I'm exposed to industry standards. You hear from other people who are wearing the same shoes as you're wearing. So you're not alone. It's big, that sense of community. And I want to thank Mr. Paul and the team of Max-Migold for the wonderful opportunity. And I encourage you to do the same to start the program.
My name is Adelinji Clements. I work with Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I joined the Max-Migold in January 2022, and which is the diploma program. I enjoyed the program, both the field, uh, practical. There is a practical we hold at Ikoyi. I forgot the name of the address. The plumbing practical. It was also very, and it helped me a lot to even to improve on at my own site. I started working in Ministry of Foreign Affairs since 2007, and from resident at Ikoyi to our training school at Alon Badagry from 2012, and from there, since then, I they tried to introduce Max-Migold to me, in which my organization see that from there I can still gain more experience to improve my career. And since when I joined in the area of registrar, asset register, I improve on it. In the area of requirements, I make sure that all our materials and everything is being kept safely. And in the area of maintaining the generator annually also, it helped me a lot. Both the cleaning of the environment, it was so also, and Max-Migold we still continue to be great, and we enjoy Mr. Paul, Mr. Emmanuel. I can't remember all our resource people. We really enjoy them, and I pray that God Almighty will continue to help them and will continue to promote the Max-Migold. Thank you.
Mastercraft program started. I attended a training before, a free training before the Mastercraft program, and I told myself that it made a lot of sense to do the Mastercraft program. And just my first day at the class, I learned a lot. A lot. It was like I wasn't practicing facilities management all this while. I went home and I went home very fulfilled. And I told myself I have to do great starting this program. Before then, I didn't have I wasn't called to this interview, but like started dropping my CV in some comments. Then I got this interview, and when I got there, the way I related with people interviewing me, they really knew that I had serious idea of what facilities management is all about. And before now, trust me, if I did that interview before the class had started, I don't think I would have gotten the job. Because a lot of things I had learned from this place, contract management, facilities management in total, what it's all about and what it entails, brought me out and made me stand out in the interview process. I was able to tell them much about contract management. I was able to tell them much about KPIs and how to supervise and all of that, and how to manage a building and how to manage facilities in the building and what to look out for. And they were very, 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 very impressed with my section. I know I'm 100% sure it was due to the few lectures, because I've not even gone too far in Mastercraft program when I went for this interview. But the few things I've learned in the class got me all the ideas, and I was able to move forward and I was able to get the job.
I'm Matthew Ojonuga Friday. Actually, I'm very grateful to be part of this free training. I'm working with A7 Nigeria Limited as a maintenance and servicing engineer. Also, I'm a mechanical engineer by profession. I've been looking onto opportunity to build up a career in facility management. And thank God I came across the Max-Migold online on WhatsApp, and I came to the opportunity. and I came for the training. Actually, the first time of being here, I'm pleased to report that the training was absolutely wonderful. I learned something new, very new that I've not learned before. And Mr. Paul is a very wonderful lecturer and also a mentor to say, because what I have downloaded into for this training is what enough to be a mentor to align with. And I believe as time goes on, I promise to get close and learn more from him because I believe he has much to deliver. And also I want to comment on his efforts so far to make sure the training was wonderful in terms of pre-launch and every other facilities and things which has made available for everybody.
My name is Obote Okoyede. I heard about Max-Migold from a friend. A friend referred me. And actually, I just concluded my MSc. I've not actually had another experience different from academics. But coming here today actually has opened my eyes to a lot of opportunities. It has actually made me believe there are lots of opportunities outside academics in terms of the management aspect, the HSE, and more of it. And for the speaker, it was very fantastic. It got everybody wow. Really made good points, and he changed the idea and thought into very effective. And referring people, I think he has actually brought out the positivity for you to want to talk about what you have learned, which I believe you want to lead people better.
My name is Anayo Victor Waboa. I work with Plus World Realtors. Max-Migold has done a great job at lecturing us on facility management training, fundamentals, and specific core competencies in facility management. I really love it because it helped me improve myself better. Despite what I've known, there are still new developments, still new process to the way you carry out facility management procedures in your workplace. I was opportune to ask a lot of questions and get a lot of answers to my questions. And these questions and these answers will rather help me perform better at my work. Yes, Paul Erubami, I've known him for a while now, and he has been so good, he has been so nice. In fact, he called me up this morning, we talked about one or few things concerning facility management and my growth, and I really appreciate him for such an opportunity. Despite not paying any dime for this, yes, we received so much value. We've been here since morning, and we are still and we don't want to go. Thank you very much.
The very first day in class was, my God, wow, the knowledge, everything in the class was just wow. That's what I can say. And today, I've been to different interviews, I've done very well, I've represented very well, and I've worked in one or two organizations. Currently, where I worked, I just joined them this December, and they just made me the head of facilities. Number one was that when I came, there wasn't system at all. Nothing like PPM. They always break down of service and all of that. So first thing I came, I took the stock, I do a PPM, I create an asset register. They were like, what's going on? So I created the system, all to the knowledge I gained through this institution.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Hajia Zainab Saleh, and I'm the Managing Director of Brains and Hammers Facility Management Limited and White Oak Management Services Limited. Both are facilities management companies. Not too long ago, I decided to enroll my staff in a masterclass program organized by Max-Migold Limited. For some of us that are not aware, Max-Migold Limited is a physical facilities management, training, inspection, technology advisory firm. Now, I've known them for quite some time, and I chose, not too long ago, to put my staff through a training program under Max-Migold. And I can assure you that it was worth it. Why do I say that? What value has it brought to me? Or what value has it brought to my staff and to the organization generally? I can assure you there was a change. Why do I say that? Their mindset has begun to change. The way they look at attending to activities and tasks that have been given to them have changed. I mean, I even hear it in their conversations. I mean, and when you hear my staff discussing about tasks or projects that have been given to them to execute, you hear them saying, oh no, I remember in class they told me not to do this. Let's do it this way, and let's see how it's going to affect the work at the end of the day. The long and short of all what I'm trying to say to you is
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good
Can anyone hear
afternoon.
me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Thank you for making it to today's episode of the FM Lunch Hour. My name is Paul Erubami, and I'm, as usual, happy to be here. And it's always an exciting time for me to share some thoughts on topics that I think are very helpful to us as we work in the built environment. Our sessions in the lunch hour are relevant to everyone in the built environment, from those who are designing to those who are constructing and building, to the engineers who will play different roles in installation, choice of equipment, all the way to property managers and facility managers, project managers, people that will be involved in the delivery process as well as the operations and maintenance. So whether you're an engineer in any discipline, whether you are a facility manager, estate surveyor, estate valuer, um, project manager, uh, property manager, quantity surveyors, architects, you are welcome to make it a date with us on the FM Lunch Hour every Thursday. Just before we dive into this very interesting topic, the building is talking. Are you listening? I'd like to remind us that the much anticipated, long-awaited start of the FMMC 27, the Facility Management Mastercraft Diploma Program, is going to start on Monday, the 11th of May. So, right, we're here finally, and we are looking forward to an awesome time. We still have some opportunities to accommodate those who have been registered, those who are still trying to join the program. A few seats are still available. Please conclude all that you are doing between today and tomorrow, because on Monday, the classes are going to start. We're starting with an orientation session on Monday that is going to be free, open to everybody in the world. So you're invited to join, even if you are taking the FMMC before, or you are um, planning for the next one or the next episode. Join the orientation session on Monday by 5 p.m. prompt, and then get insights into what we have lined up. The entire program will be rolled out. The LMS will be discussed. The faculty members will be presented. So you see the structure, the institutional efforts that have been putting together that diploma. And for those who don't have work, who are complaining about no job in the country, try and come around on Monday, you realize that there's so many jobs that we don't have people to take up, right? So, and this is that's a gap. in Nigeria. So we welcome you to learn more about the program with those who have already paid and enrolled. And if that changes your mind before the next class holds on Wednesday, which is the first class of the program, I expect that you would have paid and joined. Okay. So we look forward to seeing you. We have very good news. All those who have who were part of the last free training session we had, about 65 people were successful at acquiring the free training certificates. So I'll say congratulations to all of you who went through that process. You have earned your certificates of training for participating in that day's training. So I'll say congratulations. One more thing you still need to do is to please make some noise on social media, LinkedIn, especially Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and tag Max-Migold so that people will know that you have participated in the free training and you actually earned a free certificate. Let them know how beautiful that is. And for those who know anyone who's interested, you've done the FNMC before, and you know someone who's still struggling with his career, point them now. This is the time to show somebody the way you got out of the rut yourself and started moving on the career path, so that they too can take this bold move and move on. Okay. So thank you so much. I look forward to seeing all of you here on Monday. And for those who have paid parts or paid registration, please try and tidy up that so that you'll be on course in front row as we start the FNMC 27 on Monday. All right. So you manage buildings. You're part of a building. You are in one capacity or the other engaged with a building. And from when the building is constructed and delivered, and we start using it, there are signs, there are things we observe, there are data that comes out of it that gives you a sense of the health of the building, the strength of the building, even the emotions of the building. So you see, a building is an inanimate object that we use. But in our interaction with the building, there are certain exchanges that actually take place. And even though many people don't observe, we are trying to help you as a facility manager observe, connect with your building so you can have a way to utilize the senses and the data that is given. And there are so many, you know, if you're in a building and you smell some damp, it tells a whole lot of story, just that smell of damp. If you see those green algae growing up in some walls and some pavements, or see some fern growing around some slab, you know, where you have some pipes go through, it tells a lot of story. If you feel certain vibrations in certain areas, or even things as simple as picking noise of a door, it tells stories. You know, as you hear these things, you might be tempted to just ignore, accept that these are signs of aging. After all, this building is 10 years, 20 years, 30 years old, so you should have, you know, aging and normal wear and tear. But you need to get a sense of what the building is saying. Every signal tells a story. The smart FM knows how to listen. Reminds me of the story of an engineer that was invited to come on board a vessel, a ship, to help diagnose the problem. The ship wouldn't start, it wouldn't work. All the engineers have done all that they know to get this ship to respond and start moving, and they didn't quite they couldn't do anything until they got this wise engineer. He came in on board, looked out, checked all of their data, looked at the signs that they had ignored, went to other aspects of the building, went to the engine room, did that and that and that, and then started hitting on one particular spot until the engine started. And then when it was time to be paid, he gave them a very fat bill, I think about 50,000. And they said, "Oh, that's too expensive. Why do you expect us to pay you 50,000 for just this tapping you did for less than 2 minutes?" And he said, "The tapping, that effort you saw, is only $1. It's not what I'm charging you 50,000 for. 49,999 is for knowing where to tap." In essence, if you ignore your facility, and you don't get a sense, you don't experience it to the point where you can solve its problem, then what you are going to do is to pay a hefty fee to anyone else who knows how to diagnose, who knows how to get in to the real solution, to the real problem, and solve it for you, because you have to pay for that. Okay. So as facility managers, as you gain experience, as you experience these things with the building, we want you to understand how buildings generate data, the information they give out. There are sensors, there are systems built in. Identify key signals and indicators that reflect building performance. Interpret data to detect issues, inefficiencies, and risk early. Leverage smart technologies to improve decision-making and operations, and transform building insights into actionable FM strategies. I have been a lot perplexed recently. All this push for getting data, understanding what's going on, making sense of the data, interpreting the data to provide results, and so on and so forth. It got to the point where I see that FMs are now beginning to yield to the demand to have data, to record, to sense things, to measure energy, water, and the rest. But when the data you are gathering, you don't understand why you are gathering it. You don't know what you are going to do with the data. It becomes another problem. Because the fact that you don't know, the fact that you not put your mind into why you are doing this data analysis and data gathering, you will not even know when the data is wrong, when there's an error. You will not know. You will probably just dump the data in there and say, "Here, I've put in data." You don't intend to use that data for anything. And as such, when the data don't make sense, you do not even get into it to find out why it doesn't make sense. For example, you have metered and measured everybody very meticulously in your apartment, in your estate, in your building, commercial building or whatever. And you now see that there is, apartment A consumed that and that and that for apartment B and so on. You did all that add up. You have a total for all of them. And then you now find out that the number you have for the total for the building, which includes common areas, is now smaller than just the total for the apartments. Instead of knowing that something is wrong with those numbers, so you can go back and check, the tools, the methods to see where the error is coming from, some FM just goes ahead to put that number down. In a recent event, I had issues with air conditioning system set to 23 degrees and the room cooling down to 16, 17, 18, 19 degrees. And even does not, cannot really relate with this. So I set it to not go cooler than 24, 23, but it is cooling down to 19, for example, and even 18. And you're seeing that as normal. Something is definitely wrong with your control system. The numbers, I mean, what will be pushing the temperature down if it's not the air conditioner you have told, don't cool it below 23, for example. If you're in a temperate environment where the outside is frozen, the weather is pushing in cold air, yeah, one can say, yes, the AC is trying to do 24, but because outside is very cold, the interior is, the windows are not very good. So the cold air is pumping in, and that's why we're having 19 inside. So FMs, please. I just give simple examples from my everyday, from the week that we're in. You must not just gather data for the sake of it. Try to get into data. In a recent one, I mean, this was really perplexing. You have 3 generators synchronized. And when the load is low, one gen can work for a while. And when the load goes up, a second gen joins. And then if it goes really, really high, a third generator joins. So all the gens will come in, at different times. So at the end of 24 hours, you now have the run hours of each of the 3 generators. They did not all run the same time. One ran at some point, 2 ran together, maybe later a third one. But then you go ahead and add up the 3 generators, and you have run hours that are more than 24 hours. So when you now write that in this last 24 hours, we are having 34 hours of generator use, how does that sound to whoever is reading that information? Guys, this is reality. I'm not talking about fables or made up stories. This is reality among FM communities. You know when the power from the public supply came and stopped. Deduct that public supply hours from 24 hours, and you know the total generator runtime. You cannot add up the 3 generators and say, yes, this is the total runtime for generators. No, because if 2 or 3 run at any particular time, there's a overlapping of time. So you can't just add up like arithmetic. We need, as facility managers, to become conversant with data. Understand why we are picking run hours versus why we are taking kilowatts, and how to use these 2, kilowatt hours, for example, and how to use these 2. Understand the implication of energy used for water consumption. Take, for example, you have water pumping from a very massive borehole, and someone asks you, how much does it cost you to generate a cubic meter of water? There are a few things that go into that calculation. First, and basically, you must first have the volume of water generated over a period, say 24 hours, 1 week, 1 month, whatever. So these are the number of cubic I used. And then the borehole electricity consumption is metered. So you know how many kilowatts hours went in. Now, that water goes through a treatment system that is run by some pumps and a booster pumping system that takes the water to all of the residents. Each of these consume energy. You need to have meters in those to also accumulate that energy consumption. And then you now have the cost of chemicals that go into the treatment of the water. By the time you have these three key costs, and if you are using a vendor, even if you're using in-house staff to do the work, there's also labor costs. By the time I add these four costs together, I now use the cubic meters to divide it. I now know how much my cost of cubic meter is. I know many FMs are not metering water for our residents, but you need to know the cost of it so that if you are charging it as an amount in service charge, you should know what it means. The reason why sometimes we will say, oh, an estate is charging 400 naira per kilowatt hour blended rates for so and so estate, where the highest apartment in that estate is 2 or 3 floors, versus one where you have a 20-story high rise, and people are saying, no, this estate charges more, you should also charge this much, because you do not do your calculations. You don't realize how much power is needed to boost water supply to 1620 floors round the clock. We've made some assumptions about energy consumption, for example, where we just have a certain amount shared out as common area energy. Those assumptions will always go wrong. I have recently been burnt by making some of those assumptions, carried over from one benchmark type of assets or facilities into another type, just because of experience. Oh, this is our common experience, these are our benchmark numbers. Let's just apply it here. I'm sure it's going to work. Do not be sure until you've actually calculated. Okay? So it's important that we know what data we are dealing with. And there are so many critical areas. I've talked about energy, I've talked about water, but we also have environmental issues. Waste and sewage collection. It costs money, creates hazardous environments if not well managed. And then we have health and safety, indoor air quality, or you don't think data should come out of this as well? Sometimes you just feel a space is clean and refreshed because the air conditioning is working and it's cold. But hey, it is possible that that same environment has mold. It's possible that that same environment has high humidity. It's possible that that same environment is having low oxygen concentration and making people sick. What does it really mean to know your building? Is it enough to go around and just do inspections, and check and notice what you can see? Do you need more? And that's what we're going to talk about. There are systems, there are sensors that give information. And then there are people who are using the building, whose lives are being impacted by the building, that we need to speak with. We need to survey to get exactly what's going on with them. So building systems will generate operational data. Your air conditioning will generate data. I just gave you a typical example of just thermostat setting. Something as simple as thermostat setting for air conditioning. Sometimes you have lighting in place, but the lighting is inadequate, sometimes too bright. In one of our facilities, we monitor the energy consumption by elevators. Elevators were just running around the clock, huge motors, moving these large cars up and down, up and down. People were just getting from one floor to another, jump the elevator again for the next thing. And before you know what's happening, the elevator is doing hundreds of rides, costing a lot of energy in the process. So how is it possible to monitor this? Can you synchronize them so that the nearest car comes to you? Can you schedule them so that within reasonable wait times, you can make elevators that are suitable for certain traffic volumes to be available, not all elevators at the same time? And then what about security systems? People come in and out. Is there a way to know who came in and out? Sometime recently, someone called to say, I'm hearing noise, somebody's working in one of these floors. Pass the time to close work so that we can have peace and sleep, right? And why did that person stay in that apartment, snuggled in there and keep working? Because someone admitted him. There is supposed to be an intelligence layer using that data of all those we admitted for what they came for, knowing fully well when they should be out, right? And somehow, because that data was not visible, someone was not able to catch that some people who had come in had not left at the time they should have left. So they're somewhere inside this facility. That's in itself, I mean, just talking about a breach of work, work schedule or work timing issue, but it could be a worse risk. If such a person stowed away somewhere in the building or in the estate and came out at night to do some havoc from within, even opening or disarming your security from inside and opening for collaborators from outside at any time at night, you would have made a huge blunder just because you did not monitor the data. Came in at this time, promised to leave at that time. That time came and it didn't come out. And no one was focusing on that data to say, hey, where is this guy still at this time? Security systems. I've talked about indoor environment quality. And this is one area that we have done very little about. We seem to be, in terms of CCTV, I think there's been a lot of adoption when it comes to CCTV for security, for, monitoring movement in certain restricted, areas where privacy is not a big issue, and so on and so forth. But we have not really used that CCTV deep enough to the point where we can need to identify people who are ill, who are sick within our environment, who could have been vectors carrying contagious diseases, because your CCTV can also become a thermal camera that can, upon sighting individuals as they come in, sense their body temperature and triggers any excessive temperature issue. Because some people come into some facilities, they're not well, but it doesn't show. And something worse could happen right there. They could become the emergency in your environment. It could be workers, could be visitors, could be residents, could be anybody. It could just end up being your monkey to carry at that moment because nobody picked up that this person was ill, temperature was too high. So CCTV can do a lot more. Now, but beyond that, there are sensors for temperature, ambient temperature. Too hot, too cold. I mean, with the experience I've gathered over the years, it's easy for me to now call an FM and say, hey, this room is around 19. I don't think I need this cold. And they'll be like, how do you know it's 19? Do you have a thermostat? I can tell the difference between 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 20, 23 now because of experience. I've experienced all temperatures. I can tell you what they are. But as facility managers, we need to have a mechanism within every space where temperature sensors can be read. Okay, a common solution, and this is something that everybody can afford very little amount, is those little clocks. You can tell time, you can tell humidity level, you can tell temperature level of the air at that moment. So you can, anywhere you need a clock, for example, instead of buying the ordinary clock, you can actually use a clock that has a humidity and temperature sensing. And why is this important? One, people are getting ill because of overexposure to excessive air conditioning, too cold, pneumonia, and all kinds of things. Two, the facility management or the building is losing a lot of money cooling beyond the level of comfort. Air conditioning is supposed to be comfort cooling, not the kind of cooling that burns and freezes you. Okay? And then, of course, when you also monitor the humidity level, you tend to be able to manage people's health, because when somebody sneezes in a very highly humid environment, the level of spread of that contagion is higher, because those droplets suspend in the air when the humidity is high, becomes an incubation ground, and becomes something that makes them able to attach to someone else, and compared to when it's a very dry environment where the AC has sucked up all of those, including that sneeze droplets. Okay, so air quality, indoor environment quality, light, sound, all of those things are things that we need to get a sense of what they are in our facilities. There's a project we're working on now to have a composite sensor. One, because if I tell you, buy a $10 temperature sensor, buy another $10 humidity sensor, get one for CO2 and oxygen level, get one for this. By the time you add up all of those, you're probably spending some $150 buying sensors. And nobody wants to have all of these sensors, strapped around every space, because you actually need them in every space if you want to really monitor them properly. How about having one item that looks just like your regular, fire or smoke detectors that have all of these sensors within them? And you could have displays, little displays, in the spaces where the condition of that space is displayed, so that adjustments can be made to provide more comfort, more health, more security for everyone in that, plus more energy efficiency. And when putting up the settings for these, talking with people, the users, to know what works for them, what's adequate, what's not adequate, would help, adjust. It's not helpful for a facility manager to be the one telling people, oh, well, this is how we do it, this is how it must be. No. We ask questions. This is the setting right now. This is what the ambient temperature and humidity is saying. How comfortable are you? And there's a rule of thumb, really. There's an ASHRAE global benchmark. If you get 80% to agree to one setting, then that becomes the setting for everybody. That becomes the standard for that space. Okay, so you get the systems and sensor data, you get the human input from survey, and together you have your data to give the best environment to the people who use that space. And as facility managers, we provide spaces and services. We provide whatever it takes to enable the users to live their best life, improve their quality of life, be productive, whatever it takes for people who are improving their quality of life and being productive, contributes also to the corporate goal, to the objectives of the organization, to help the organization to achieve its long-term strategic objectives. And those are the things that we try to measure as key performance indicators. We know definitely that it's when somebody is inconvenienced, somebody is trying to hold on with a full bladder, for example, can't wait for it to ring 5 so you can run home and go and use the toilet. From whenever that bladder filled up till the time we close, that person is not doing any productive work. Plus, the person's health is being endangered just because someone did not make the toilet available or water flowing. It's almost second nature to not expect certain things to run in certain facilities. And some FM, some people don't think it's a big deal. I mean, we don't measure the impact on the organization. That's where key performance indicators come in. So if if your toilets are out 1 day, 2 days, can you calculate how much productivity losses, how much quality of life failures or downturn you're creating for the individuals who live in that space? Can we estimate that? Can we get a sense of the significance of something as simple as that? Or air conditioning not working, for example, and people are sweaty and unable to think straight or able to do good work. How is that affecting health and standard of living or quality of life, and how is it affecting productivity of the organization? So when we as facility managers invest in operations and maintenance, let's know what is key performance indicators relating to these operations and maintenance. Reliability, a system that runs round the clock without failure, compared to one that fails every now and then, that you can compute the losses in productivity and quality of life, right? Because if there are no losses, it means that there are gains all through. If you survey people and they say, oh, well, this place is comfortable, we're able to do our job, we don't have any complaint, just by tracking the number of complaints and escalation that come from your facility, you can relate it to the loss of productivity. Because every time somebody comes to say, something is wrong, I'm not comfortable, this is not happening, this is not happening, that person is not working at that time. So even if the person doesn't tell you statistically, this is how much productivity I've lost, you can always use the rate of complaints and escalations and crises you enter in your workplace to determine how much of the key performance indicators you are missing out on. And then as you provide operations and maintenance services, it also accumulates costs. And so many of us are focused on get the money, spend it, report back that we have spent it. We do not, in many instances, correlate the monies we are spending with the value that the money is bringing. That's where metrics come in. Key performance indicators are actually reported through metrics. What is my cost per square meter? What is my cost per person? So if I know my cost per cubic meter, the one I was talking about before, how many people work or use this facility? So how many cubic meters serves X number of people per day? Since I know the cost of the water, I know how much it costs me to provide water to make certain number of people comfortable at that time. So instead of me to be dealing with my cost separately, without connecting it with the value, as FMs, key performance indicators require us to connect what we do that costs money with what we deliver to the end users that brings value. It is at this point that you now begin to communicate about facility management in a strategic way that makes sense. In fact, when you get to master this connection between what it costs to do what you are doing, and then what value you are bringing in terms of quality of life and productivity enhancement, from reliability, from satisfaction, no complaints, from asset valuation that comes from continuous investment in maintenance, that's when your real value as facility manager is identified or recognized. And then beyond the data that we take, one after the other, the records of, the refuse, the energy consumption, and so on and so forth, sensors do a lot of the heavy lifting for us. In fact, nowadays, unlike before, where you have sensors, they have to be wired up across the facility into a mainframe, typical BMS structure. Now we have very simple systems for acquiring the sensors that are wireless, that can be integrated into an application, into any simple open source application, your Google Home, your Apple, your Home Assistant, and then those sensors integrate and provide real-time data on the go. on the go. So there are systems now for having sensors that tracks everything, real-time data collection, real-time monitoring. You can tell when something came on and when it went off, real-time as it's happening. You can tell how many kilowatts it is using now, real-time as it's happening. Okay, and if you want to control certain excesses, you set triggers, you set certain controls in place where when it goes beyond this, that happens. Take, for example, you don't want the oxygen level to drop to the point where people may not know. I mean, the place is still cool and still bright and still clean. People don't know how low the oxygen level has gotten. But then over time, they begin to realize that they're not concentrating. They are feeling all kinds of, nauseous feelings and so on and so forth, right? So, but you, the FM, who has an oxygen sensor in that space, can either go into that space individually or send someone to say, open a window for 10 minutes. Let me see how this oxygen level will be increased by allowing fresh air in. And if you're using an air conditioning system that has an air intake mechanism in the air handling unit, all you need to do is, put that up with an adjustment to say, let the damper open by this much so that air can come in for so long, while you're still monitoring the oxygen level. When it's enriched enough, you shut that damper because you don't want too much warm air. Too much warm air also increases your energy cost, right? You're also balancing that. But beyond that, you can actually do an automation that does not even need to come to you. All you need to do is have a motorized damper for that air intake valve and ensure that there's a controller that is, controlling that motorized damper that your sensor can speak to. The sensor has picked that oxygen level has dropped. People are no longer comfortable, even though they don't know it yet, and has communicated to that controller, IoT controller of that motorized damper, and made the adjustments. So fresh air comes in, it senses it's enough, it tells it to shut it back, and nobody even gets to know that their life was just in danger a few minutes ago, that their productivity was already going down, that their quality of life was already going down, right? A system that senses has acted. And now they feel better. So you can see that as an FM, you can manage a lot of value-adding results and activities and contributions to your organizations and the people that you manage spaces for without them even realizing how much good you are doing. But over time, people get to know the difference between a well-managed environment and one that they struggle in. Okay? And then we have platforms where all activities can be organized, can be assigned, can be disseminated, real-time tracking, visibility of tasks. So we have this thing in our facilities now where we're trying to chase technicians around. There are things you're supposed to do. There's a schedule. It says, check this at this time, check that, report back, do this and do that, preventive maintenance activities. And then once you sit down in their spaces, some basement offices or plant rooms, and then boom, 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 tick everything as done. Tick everything as done. And that's why somehow it irks me when I see some of those our templates where all you need to do is just tick. It says, check this, tick, check that, tick. If it's just ticking that you're asked to do, you can tick all your way through while you're achieving nothing. So we are not having a system, we're not having systems now that you can just tick, no longer on paper. You're not going to have that in a software, in a CMMS software or casting software that recognizes exactly where you are. So all the assets in your facility have their, geometric positioning, their geographical positioning already done in the system. So if you're supposed to go to a certain equipment to do a certain inspection, you can't just take it. You have to actually be there. And now that system is now going to be even further enhanced by having you take a picture and record it. So for every of those checks that needs to be checked, some quality assurance need to be put in place, because the main reason why we completely lose touch of our facilities and suddenly run into trouble, see a defect. Somebody say, oh, my generator just shut down. Look, the generator has been crying. It didn't just suddenly shut down. The AC just packed up. It didn't just suddenly pack up. No equipment in your facility suddenly packs up. None. They all talk and talk and talk, start crying. In fact, when they start telling you I have an issue, you're not watching, they'll start grumbling. After a while, they'll start crying. And when they finish all the crying, you're still not listening, they just pack up. Ah, there's an emergency. It's never an emergency. It's you ignoring the signs, not doing the basic inspections when they should have been done. Depending on reports that were generated by hand in some basement room, when the person did not even get to where the facility or the asset is. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a big execution problem in facilities. We train. Now, FMs are the highest paid in their class. If an engineer is if an FM coming from engineering, those who are in manufacturing are any less than the FM. If an FM coming from an IT background, those who are in core IT versus those who are doing FMIT, they're any differently. If an FM comes in from estate background, those who stays in estate survey and estate evaluation versus those who moved into FM are any more. FMs are being paid more because there's scarcity of skilled, trained people. So the price of paying an average FM has been inching up. It has also got to the level of technicians. There's so much scarcity now that you can hardly get a technician who wants to accept less than 200,000 naira per month as salary. Now, how do you match this rising profile of the FM, rising cost of deploying professional FM, with the poor execution that we are seeing in the industry? So in many organizations, we've had to have supervisors and coordinators and multiple layers just to keep an eye on make people work. And in many instances, connivance, complicity will now becoming paddy, will now end up turning the organization's work and its processes to be second. So, ladies and gentlemen, the knowledge will mean nothing if we cannot apply them, if we cannot use them to provide value that is documented, results that is seen and felt, key performance indicators that shows that we're actually doing what we should be doing as facility managers in our organizations. So whether it's IoT, whether it's BMS, AROPS, special resource planning software, whether it's building information modeling, whatever the technology that is built in, as facility managers, we need to be diligent in executing the task. What needs to be measured, the data needs to be picked and made sense of. What needs to be done, checked. That check needs to be done and recorded real time. That's the only way we can get value for what we are doing. All that investment in cameras all over the place, for example, in some facilities where nobody's actually watching the cameras. Nobody's actually seeing that someone has collapsed from a ladder that needs help immediately. Nobody's actually seeing that someone is doing something nefarious somewhere in the facility. I mean, we have all these cameras. What are we doing with the data real time? And if all that you do is after the fact, always going back to scroll back, let's catch who did this, who did that, then that whole investment is not providing the value it should be, because it should be able to prevent, to be able to stop certain crises from happening in the first place. These anomalies are supposed to be picked up real time. And that's what sensors are for. If people were in a classroom in a university, for example, and they've all left the room, and you have all those 20-ton, 30-ton air conditioning units all blasting full throttle in that room, that's a travesty. Someone in the plant room is recording this huge energy peak. Nobody pays attention to the fact that 1 or 2 theaters have been vacated for hours, and hundreds of kilowatt hours are just being wasted because nobody is tracking. So we must be ready to detect unusual patterns in data, sudden spikes, for example, in energy use and temperature fluctuations, monitor deviations from normal performance baselines to spot potential issues early, track recurring faults and alerts that indicate deeper underlying problems. A breaker is failed, we change the breaker. Breaker is failed, why do you keep changing the breaker? What is making the breaker to fail? That is a circuit that needs to be traced, diagnosed. What is the problem? You know, sometimes it's light. You keep changing light in one particular room or space. But if all that you do is to change the light, you're not listening to your building. You're not listening. If the light is the same as others that are working, then something is wrong with the circuit. Use real-time monitoring system to flag abnormalities instantly. Early detection enables proactive action, preventing failures, downtime, and costly repairs. And this is the sweet part of it. You can actually use the same set of data to predict future. Whether it's generator, air conditioning, printers, refrigerators, servers, whatever you manage, there are so many things that you can be getting from them that can tell you this thing is tending towards being better, being worse. Analyze historical and real-time data to identify patterns that signal potential failures. It has not failed, but the data is telling you it will soon fail. That's only if you pay attention to the data, ensure that the correct data is what you have, interpret the data to make sense out of it. So if you have preventive activities planned, you can schedule them to align with patterns of this data so that you are taking an asset out of circulation or out of operation to do preventive maintenance activities, because you're also using predictive analytics to detect that this is its worst moment for me to act. And I can reduce downtime and repair costs. Because I know, because I'm studying the data, I know it is likely to. And I know when to stop it before it fails. And then whatever I do as facility manager, my strategy will continually be required to be enhanced, to be refined on an ongoing basis. And whenever we are taking decisions, there's so many assumptions we make, especially those of us who are experienced. We make a lot of assumptions, but sometimes we fail to look at what the data is saying. You might be right, because so many years you've experienced, what's happening with many facilities. So it's easy for you to say, oh yeah, I know, what is happening. I know, what this is leading to. I can fix this. But it's important that you study the data so that this specific instance you are trying to deal with, you are arming yourself with objective information, not just experience or hindsight. Okay? Replace assumptions with evidence-based insights, improving accuracy and outcomes. Prioritize resources effectively based on performance data and risk levels. Sometimes you don't have all the resources you need. You don't have all the manpower and money to do everything. But you can decide that something can wait till tomorrow because you are seeing the data. Because something more critical is happening today that must be sorted out today. That's data backed. There are two very important things, but instead of bringing extra hands ad hoc for today, I can move one to tomorrow The data suggests that I can still run till tomorrow for this one. Why the same thing, fix this today and fix that tomorrow, saving me a lot of money. And then automation. I think this is the era of automation. We must all embrace the whole alerts, triggers, the automation. I gave an analysis about oxygen and the motorized dumper earlier on. It goes with virtually everything: lighting, water, air conditioning. We can automate triggers. We can automate alerts. For example, you can have a sensor in your panel room or inside your panels, very small button sensors that can just be just observing moisture, humidity level, and temperature. That's all it does. It will be there for months and years, and we're going to have batteries that can be 7 years lifespan, just there. But when for any reason moisture is exceeding a certain threshold already preset, an alert comes to you. That trigger that, oh, moisture, is it rain, is it pipe leaks or whatever? Electrical panel is receiving moisture before something serious happens. Or is it temperature? It could be having arcing, it could be having partial contact that's leading to temperature rising in that space. People don't basically just wake up and go there every morning to go and check. And that's why you could have disastrous consequences, because we don't just do the routines daily, go check everything one by one. We miss them somewhere, we don't even factor in how to check on certain things on a regular basis. And within 24 hours could be enough for a hazard to emerge. But if you have alerts, if you have systems for triggering, warning signals, then of course you can go and act on it. It saves you time as well and helps you to become more efficient as a facility manager. At the end of the day, what does this do for us? It helps us to build a proactive, insight-driven FM culture. We shift from reactive to proactive thinking. We use that to anticipate issues before they occur. We empower teams with real-time insights to make faster, informed decisions. We encourage a data-driven mindset where actions are guided by evidence, not assumptions. We promote collaboration and knowledge sharing across teams for better problem solving. And we embed continuous improvement using insights to refine processes and enhance performance. So that's our lesson for today. Your building is always generating data. Ignore it. It means you miss out on critical insights. Turn the data, turn the information, turn the insights into intelligence, actionable intelligence. The earlier you can pick on and understand what the building is saying, the better you can perform to save it from any issues, to improve it and make it better, and to deliver value and results to your end user. So listening to your building is the key to efficiency, reliability, and long-term success as facility managers. Okay, so that's our session for today. I will now want to turn the rest of the time for questions. Just raise your hand using the raise hand tool in your Zoom application if you are here in Zoom. Put the question in the chat in the FM training WhatsApp group if you are there. If you're on the LinkedIn or the YouTube channels or Facebook channels, just put the question in the chat and one of our admins will read them out here. And if your comment is to say what you have learned and the value of this session, you can as well, indicate and ask and give your comments, okay? You have a question or comments? You just unmuted. I don't see your name, Infinix Smart 7. If you have a question or comment, you can go ahead.
No, sir, not exactly.
Okay. Well done.
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay, so can anybody just share one or two things you learned from this session?
Hello, good afternoon, sir. I don't know.
Yes, good afternoon, Ato.
Okay, sir. So thank you very much for these wonderful insights. So I don't know. I just want us to discuss about this. In my facility, I think I've experienced it about like 3 times for my water treatment. So I've received call for like about 3 times when residents complain that there's no water in the building. So what actually happens is that we have a kind of semi-automated system. We use floating switch from we have this reserve tank, the raw water to pre-treatment, and from there pass through RO to the reserve tank. So we have this floating switch for dry run, and then we have another one at the top roof for that feeds the residents. So that one calls for for water when there's when the level is low and the pump peaks and then fills it up. So, but now what happens is that the water in the reserve tank most of the time gets below the actual level, and the pump keeps sucking until the water is we don't have water again. So I've observed it like 3 times. So it's because the floating switch, they fail. Most of the time they fail. The one that prompt the RO machines to fill it up. At times that one fails. We've replaced it several times somehow, but it still fails. So is there like a device, like like a sensor or something that if the water has gotten to a level and the floating switch fails to give the command for those pumps to start filling up, that a device that can maybe trigger maybe like an alarm or maybe send something to maybe my WhatsApp or something that will just alert me like, okay, there's danger here.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I will just go over there to see that.
Yes, there is. There's a level sensor you can set up on that tank. That level sensor can be integrated. A level sensor, yes. It's a level sensor. It's connected to the tank, to the tank, looking over the water, and it is calibrated using the level of the water, right? So when the water gets below a certain level, it should be able to send a signal wirelessly. You could have a level sensor that uses GSM, a SIM card, or you could have one that connects to Wi-Fi if you have internet around the water plant area. But that sensor can actually, send an information to say the level has gone low. And if you are not using a mechanical float switch and you want to use that level sensor to control the pump, for example, that means you have another controller, which could be a smart breaker that powers that pump on. So the sensor can now send the signal to the breaker to power the pump on and start pumping water into that system instead of depending on the flow switch that fails all the time.
Okay. Wow, that's nice. So I don't know, maybe later I would like to reach out to you so that maybe we can talk about this.
Very good.
This stuff. So, okay.
Very good. Very good. Thank you so much, Arthur. And I would like to also invite everyone here. You have any of these technology-related issues, you have problem with your water, energy, and you need, a company to come and take a look, do an audit, recommend smart solutions for you. That's what Max-Migold is set up for. We have a team that will come in and ensure that the right sensors, the right controllers are set up for you, and you have all your automation set up properly. Okay. Thank you so much. All right. So thank you guys for joining me here today. I look forward to seeing you again next week, Thursday, same time. I wish you the best of the rest of the week. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
Thank you, sir. All right. Have a great rest of the week.